Stage 5, Dakar 2022 brings Henk Latergan and Brett Cummings their first ever stage victory. They've completed 9 stages and they've won 1, and it also brings the first ever MotoGP winner of a bike stage. Greetings and salutations, race fans, motorsport lovers and Dakar fans, and welcome to our coverage of Stage 5. Our in-studio guest tonight, Terence Marsh, Redlined Motorsport. Welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks, Cole.
It's an exciting race so far.
What a day, what a day.
What a day, that's the only way to describe it. And somewhere on the southern tip of Africa, close to the sea, next to the place where they make people frazzled, is Steffi Vetter from the Southern African Dakar Group. Steffi, as Terence says, what a day.
Hello Colin, hello Terence, so lovely to be back again. Yep, roller coaster stage 5. If we thought yesterday was anything to go by, the Dakar Rally said today, hold my beer. I mean, it was crazy out there. We've got so much to talk about. Split stage, bikes getting lost, the actual stage was stopped, Danilo winning the stage after Toby gets a penalty. Wow.
It's absolutely crazy stuff. And dear viewers, your proxy is back in the studio. We have Andrew Horndog. Thank you for coming in, Andrew, making the trip across from the deepest, darkest places in Melville.
Yeah, thank you. Pleasure. Great to be here again. It was quite a day. It was difficult to focus at work there, trying to keep up with what was going on with that stage.
I think all work should be cancelled while Dakar, Le Mans and the Spa 24 and a couple of other races are on, just as a duty to humankind. So if you're watching, you know the drill by now. We go through a brief highlight of what's happened, and if you've got comments and questions, put them into the comments and questions section on either YouTube or Facebook. Andrew will read them out. A little bit later, we've got a fantastic red line hamper that Mr. Marsh was kind enough to bring. He had to come in one of the huge Nissan vehicles that is in his fleet, but it's very nice. Let's just go straight into the day and just a quick little summary of it. Whether it can be a quick summary or not, I do not know. So headlines from the day. Massive fight up front, mano a mano war with Sebi Loeb and Henk Latergan, having a full-on go at each other. And right at the end, it was Henk Latergan and Brett Cummings who came to win it. It was just absolutely magnificent to watch. Some of the guys we're going to go through, we earlier spoke to them, and we've got a recorded segment. It was quite very nice to be able to go in and get some information, get recordings from the guys. Other highlights of the South Africans, and probably we had 2 drivers of the day. There's 3 performances of the day in my mind. Henk Latergan winning, and then Chris Visser coming in 10th position in the Century CR6. Absolutely brilliant performance from him. And then the other really good performance is Skalkberger. The winner's time was 3 hours 53 for Henk. Skalk finished in 7 hours 16 minutes. Long day in the saddle there, Terence.
It's a long day. That's a long day.
Absolutely. So all the guys are in.
He's in.
Yeah, he's in. He's still in the race and lives to fight another day. Our South African contingent, we've only lost Jeff Minott and Siegfried Rousseau, who joined the Roly-Poly Club yesterday, and they weren't able to continue. Steffi, bikes. The drama is still flying. The rules are still being written. The results are they final or are they moving? It changes by the minute. But one thing that you won't be able to change. MotoGP rider with a damaged foot. His bike gets helicoptered out a couple of days ago. He comes back and wins today. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and it's actually for me one of the stories of the day, because there's so many. But we were talking about it earlier, as Terence said. Was it a one-shot wonder? He did so well yesterday, but to come back and initially only be, I think it was 4 minutes behind Toby Price until Toby copped a penalty. And then to go on and win the stage, it's absolutely incredible. It's, as a debutant, he's the first MotoGP rider to cross over to cross-country rally raid and to actually win a stage. But can we just say, well done, Danilo, but who came second? Ross Branch, our Kalahari Ferrari. Don't say that after wine, guys. It'll never work. But Rossi put up a spectacular performance today. And as I said last night, never count Rossi out. Rossi's got a mind that is so settled into the race. He's coming into his straps. I am absolutely so happy for him because he really needed this. He really needed a win, or a really good stage, not a win. I thought he would win at one stage. But let's talk about the stage though, Colin. You know, it was such a roller coaster. Don't forget it was a split race today. So the cars went one way, the bikes went the other. What a logistical nightmare for the organizers, which actually came back to bite them on the proverbial because the sandstorm came up and then the choppers couldn't get up.
And the other thing that it did is that because tomorrow's stage, they swap stages around, and I'm told there's going to be little bits of modifications to it. And with swapping them around, they didn't want to share all the track information, so they shut down tracking and we couldn't follow where the guys were. So it's like we were spoiled for information when we were able to follow all the tracks and we've got all of the stuff. Screws with work though. And then when you lose it, you feel like, oh my God.
Yeah, I have to say, poor Johan with the tracking today, he said it became a complete nightmare for him because you've become so used to it. But you can understand why they did it. But yes, going back to your question, we are still waiting. So the official rankings that we're going to discuss tonight are what are on. You know, they're actually up. But if you look from 56 down, there's nothing there because that's where the race was stopped between waypoint 7 and waypoint 8 because of the sandstorm. So, you know, we're not really sure, are they going to sanction? Are they going to change anything? I personally hope they don't. You know, it was really set up in the top order. Those guys are duking it out. And as we said last night, the boomerang effect of Joan Barreda-Bort and Pablo Quintanilla went bang, and first and second yesterday, straight down the leaderboard today. But if you're a gambler, they've played their cards right because look where Ricky and Nacho were today. And who do you think is going to be in the top 5 tomorrow? I can almost put money that Barreda-Bort and Quintanilla are going to be back.
And it's still, the thing about the bikes is that it's much, much closer than the cars. But the swings in the bike seem to be smaller and the swings in the cars seem to be bigger. So it's still, man, we haven't even reached Raceday yet, Terence.
That's what I said, only 5 stages in. That's the most incredible thing. If you think we've had 5, what's happened in 5 days has been absolutely amazing. Have anybody got any idea what's happening tomorrow?
You can't script this thing, can you?
That's Dakar. That's Dakar. Honestly, something else.
You know, in the interview we talked to Henk and Brett, and he just talks about they're leading. Well, let's stay and listen to it because it's absolutely magic. Horndog, yes. Are you busy yet?
I am.
What are they saying? What are you guys saying? Put the things down there.
Why did Toby Price get a penalty? That's a one for Steffi to answer for us. And then the other question was, did they run out of medics? The answer is no, they had a sandstorm and had to, they couldn't fly helicopters, which I think is a prerequisite for the Dakar. So, you know, no medical evacuation, therefore they must suspend the stage.
We were talking just before, Terence and I were talking just about the level of safety that's required at Dakar. You've got 3,500 people moving across the desert in a caravan.
This year's 4,500, I think, with the classics now.
Yeah.
So your general number is 3,500. I think this year it's closer to 4,500.
So 4,500 people. You've got 400 odd competitors. And it's a massive responsibility on ASO and now FIA, because it's a World Championship event, to keep everybody alive. So it's a balancing act.
And safety is everything, particularly with FIA involved now. You know, I think before Dakar was, I wouldn't say they were a little bit rougher around the edges or more accommodating, let's say. That's the spirit of Dakar.
Yeah.
But with FIA and the World Championship now, you know, if you're on the Sportify app, you will just see it's just every day is one final after another, you know, where the people are not switching on their fire extinguishers, or they are not having their balaclavas on. I've never seen so many penalties ever issued on a daily perspective.
And not wearing the correct underwear.
Oh,
the
tests
the
are...
hologram on it. But I suppose, you know, there are rules.
Well, if you think, you know, like you said earlier, you know, you put cars into perspective with trucks, it's almost 250 competitors.
Yeah.
250 competitors in a day that have to go through one stage, one area of terrain, with the safety in mind, you know. That's without the bikes. I'm just talking about the four wheels.
Yeah, let's not go with mixing bikes and cars, because anyway, so safety is a massive thing, and if we've seen at Formula One races or sports car races, when the fog comes in, the chopper can't fly. You can't race, because
that is a rule. So if the helicopters can't go up, the stage would be delayed from a starting perspective, or cancelled as it was today. You know, because they can't evacuate or get somebody out from a medical perspective. So.
And Steffi, it's kind of interesting because the exact numbers I don't get them off the top of my head. But a whole bunch of guys got to the end, they finished their stage, so they'd done their race. You can't unscramble an egg. And so that's all done. You can't really go and fiddle with that. But anyway, so we'll wait till we get Steffi back, and when she can answer the questions. Yeah. Are you back? Sorry, I thought that there was an issue with the thunderstorms down in the southern end of the Cape. So the top guys, you can't really say...
Colin, yeah, the only thunderstorms are the sandstorms that Henk made in the desert today. But I do have news for you. So Toby Price got a 6-minute speeding penalty. That's what he got it for you. That's what he got it for. But I'm absolutely devastated. I've just learned that Skylar actually had a massive crash because he got an 8-hour penalty. We weren't sure what it was for. We contacted America, we contacted his team. He's not in a good way, and he's out of the rally. So by all accounts, I've literally just got this news. By all accounts, he can't remember anything about the fall. He managed to make it to the finish, but he's not feeling well. He's got ankle and shoulder injuries, and he was taken to hospital by the organization, and he will unfortunately have to miss the rest of the Dakar rally.
Oh, that's actually, that's very sad. I see there is a tear in your eye, because he was one of our guys, and you know, we spoke to him last year. Yeah, we spoke to him last year at Raceday, and I was looking forward to talking to him again this year, because I'm sure that that the Husqvarna guys would have loved to help us out. But so
you know what, really, I'm upset for Skylar. It's the Dakar rally. She's a cruel mistress, but it's his first ride on his factory Husky, and I'm sure he must be as devastated as all his fans are. But that's racing.
Yeah, it's...
Steffi, just while we're still on bikes, we've had a comment in from Yuri Buerta saying that Bereda is also a doubtful starter tomorrow after a big fall. Do you know anything about that?
I have to be absolutely honest, Andrew, I don't. I have put feelers out about it, so let's see what comes back at us. Yesterday's winner from the bike, he has injured his shoulder, from what I can gather. But I think, by all accounts, they're going to wait until tomorrow morning before they decide what to do or whether he'll be a starter. A doubtful starter, and it will be another great loss to this rally raid and the World Championship.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you for that comment, Yuri.
But if he's damaged, body's damaged, you can't go and ride. And yes, it's tough. And these guys don't give up from their own perspective. They will do whatever it takes to go to carry on riding. But there comes a time when a doctor has to say to a mad racing person, "You just can't." Am I right, Terence?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
What else are we going to just can we just talk about cars for a bit? I mean, enough of the bike summary. I mean,
absolutely.
We're going to talk about.
Let's come back to it, because I've got some interesting comments from the guys as well as the stage and the overall. So let's hear the big news. Let's listen to Henk and Brett.
We're going to we'll have a quick look at the car summary. We're going to, just for people who just to get the running order going right. Then we're going to come back and look at the results in depth, both on the bikes and the cars. We're going to have an analysis of it, Then straight after that, we're going to play that interview with Brett and Henk. And then Terence has got, we're going to just find out a little bit more about Redline Motorsport and what it does in South Africa and how you can get involved, because Terence would love you to come and buy one of his cars. And there is a sneaky question. It is incredibly difficult. So when Terence is talking, you have to concentrate very, very hard to win this fantastic prize of things that that he's brought along. So very quick from an overall, we've spoken, I mean, the headline clearly from a car point of view is Henk and Brett. 9 stages. Who would have thought that a rookie comes in, completes 9 stages and has a win in one of them. Sebi Loeb and Fabian Lurken were 158 behind. Now you'll remember the name Fabian Lurken because Matthew Serradori and Fabian drove last year, but when there was the ructions in the Hunter camp about the size of Sebi's Navigator, Fabian jumped ship from Matthew, and Loic Minodi is with Matthew at the moment. Brian Baragwanath he was really disappointed, 22 minutes off in 27th. He got lost and then he got a puncture and he wasn't having a good time. From what we can see on the Centuries, they don't like the two-wheel drive buggies, they don't like the soft sand. They really like the hard pack stuff, and so when it's hard pack, tomorrow should be more of hard pack stuff. They really, really fly. Chris Visser in 10th in a Century as well. Last night he was saying when we spoke to him, if you missed that interview, it is as a separate piece as well on the Raceday pages. But he's getting more and more used to the car, and they're bonding really well. So he was in 10th. Brian Baragwanath, we try and have a race day driver of the day. So Brian Baragwanath had his votes with us, and he says that Marcello Gastaldi in one of the Centuries, in the Brazilian car, it's yellow, clearly because it's Brazilian. He passed over 100 vehicles to finishing in 12th position. Now, passing 100 cars
it's incredible.
In 4 hours is...
In those conditions?
Yeah, it's every 2 minutes. It's ding, 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 ding. Absolutely fantastic. And then Skalkberger brought it in. Big respect for the guy driving 200 k's an hour with no power steering. Whether it's actually no power steering, it's no human can drive a car with no power steering, but even intermittent and none,
he's a big kid, so he's a big unit. So I think if there's anybody that I wanted to drive with limited or minimal power steering, it would be Skalk.
Yeah, I think that steering wheel is feeling a little bit of pain tonight, as well as Skalk's forearms and such.
But he's bringing it home, and that's the most important thing, you know.
And that was his objective. Then a lot of things that you do, we'll talk about that, the training and the objective and the thing that you do when we go further. Andrew?
Yes.
Question?
I've got a couple, actually, for Terence. I think the first one that we'll fire with is from Lut Duprier. Why no redline cars at Dakar? And then a follow-on question from that from Brendan van Staden. When are you going back to Dakar?
So to answer that briefly, there are 2 cars there. There's a VK50 and a VK56 that are both being run independently. So there are 2 cars that are both still in the event at the moment. One with the young German Daniel Schroeder. I think he's about 32nd overall now, doing an incredible job. His first one as a driver, and it's with Ryan Bland. So they're doing a really good job. And then there's a young guy, 32-year-old German by the name of Marcus Welcher, who's in a VK56 there. So we've got 2 there. We did think long and hard of going this year with Revo. But then with COVID and the setbacks, it was a decision we made at the kind of 11th hour together with Conrad, that instead of going with 1 car, we have possibly 4 to 5 for the following year. So according to scale is we pushed it out by a year.
So, I mean, the South African contingent, we had, by my count, there's 33 South African designed and built cars in this race, and never mind all the side-by-side. So, you know, bump that up with another 4 cars, and possibly more for next year. We've got a massive, and that's out of 88 cars. It's a
In
massive
2016, there was 89 cars in the starting line and 43 were made in South Africa. So it's not an unusual stat for us. I mean, the rest of the world or South Africans don't understand that. But the quality of the cars built in South Africa are incredible. And the drivers, which is everybody's seen. I mean, Henk, unbelievable. His results speak for themselves, but it's not surprising. He's incredibly quick. He's incredibly talented, and he will win the Dakar. I mean, the last person who showed this kind of ability in form was Leroy.
Yeah.
Leroy Poulter, you know, if you think he went, I think he went 12th or 10th in his first and 5th in his second, you know. So Henk's got pace is not the problem with Henk. There's no doubt about it. He's got the pace.
Just needs experience. He's 27. And put that in perspective, Nasser Al-Attiyah is 50.
And the reality is it is a mature sport if you want. You need to have lots of mileage under your belt. That's where the
So there's hope for
clever
you,
decisions.
As a silver-haired fox. Steffi, we digress. Let's go and go back to your bikes. There was another question you had. Sorry, before we go back to
there was one more. Obviously, you've just built Revo. That falls under T1.
Yeah, that's T1. Yeah.
No plans for a T1 Plus?
Yeah, there will be a T1 Plus, so that we've kind of looked at that as well, but we really much need to build for our customer base. So you've got to be if you think of a pyramid, you know, when you're going right to the top there, that's the factory stuff and the factory budgets. You know, where we're sitting with the businessmen, we very much focus on, let's call them businessman drivers and semi-professionals. So once you start going to the top, you need lots of factory support and money, you know.
Lots and lots of euros. Steffi, your beloved motorbikes.
My beloved motorbikes.
Yes.
Before we talk results, let's talk about Sam. Now, Sam Sunderland is leading the GC, the overall. Actually had a fall yesterday, and I was interested to read that he had little discussions with himself going on all day, but he got the better of the little fella in his head. Matthias caught him after about, he made up those 3 minutes, and they rode together for most of the day. And he said he did get that confidence back. He got through that little voice in his head. So it's good to hear that, there's a lot of mental struggle going on out there. Now let's talk Chucky Sanders, because Chucky Sanders, he ate some dirt with Skylar 2 days ago. He was a bit disappointed. He said he hammered it all day, but he got lost. So there goes the time. Those hidden waypoints have come back. He said he was a bit confused, but it might have been the bump on his head. Brad had a disappointing day in his head. We all thought it was just the most phenomenal day. He dumped the bike in a mud river and basically almost couldn't see his roadbook. The roadbook got jammed up. He had to manually scroll, which was it was hard for him, and it lost him 4 or 5 minutes. I'm sure we've got a video that Fritz will roll later, but let's get straight to the stage results that got scrambled up like a breakfast at a wimpy today. So where are we? So there we go. Danilo Petrucci, a magnificent win for our MotoGP star. Fantastic effort, and I think we're going to see a lot more of him on this Dakar. But there in second place, our beloved Kalahari Ferrari Rossi came in 2 seconds off Danilo. I mean, it was so close to a stage when it was frightening. With Nacho Corneo, he's been really, really quiet the entire Dakar. He's coming into his own. But don't forget, Nacho and Ricky finished way back in the standings yesterday, so they could just power their way through the stage. And of course, they always tag team 2v2. Those Honda boys are always together. You've got to watch out for them. Toby decided to put foot a little bit too fast through probably one of the zone. 6 minutes he got. And there he is again. Every night we talk about this youngster from America, Mason Klein. There's nothing small about him. And Bar van der Velden is grinning from ear to ear. The Baz Dakar KTM racing team just putting up their hands. I'm so happy to see Andrew Short back in the mix, Rossi's teammate, followed by Kevin Benavides. So the KTMs, they're still there and thereabouts. Martin Michek is not somebody that I know a lot about, I'll have to be honest, but he came in 9th place, 7 minutes off the lead. So there you have 7 minutes between 1 and 10. Luciano Benavides on the Husky, Skylar's teammate, who we've just heard is now out of the running. So Matthias rode with Sam all day long, 11th and 12th, and there is Chucky in 13th. You go down the list, and who have we got in 21st place? Bradley Cox. Bradley Cox is riding a magnificent rally. I think he's been too hard on himself. I think he's putting too much pressure on himself. Look, obviously he's vying for that rookie position with Mason, but he is really he's a talent. He's going to be a tour de force in not too many years at all.
Before you go on, while you just mentioned Bradley Cox, we have to interrupt at this point and wish Alfie Cox, the great, the legend, Alfie Cox, a massive happy birthday from everybody at Raceday. Alfie, if somebody can get a message to him, if you're not watching, Alfie, congratulations on being so many years young and the legend you are, and what a birthday present to be with his son at Dakar. So happy birthday, Alfie. Sorry for the interruption, Steph. We had to do
Absolutely, no props. I'm just going to say, hey, Steven, we need some more videos, and happy birthday, Alfie. Really, really enjoy it. You must be having a ball out there. So what happened in the overall? Where did that all go? It didn't get too scrambled up. So Sam is still in the lead. He holds a 2:29 lead over Matthias. So he did lose a little bit of time to Matthias Walkner. Adrian's still up there in the Yamaha, 5 minutes off the pace with Daniel. Chucky Sanders on the gas. He moved down a wee bit with Skylar falling away, because Skylar was actually in 5th. But that sad story is really, it's not great. Santolino, the Shirko, he's still up there in 5th with Pablo Quintanilla on the Honda, 16 minutes off the pace with Ross, who's powered his way into the top 10. So proud of that boy, and Ray just goes from strength to strength. Rossi, if you're listening, Amy, we're with you all the way. Kevin Benavides still up in the top 10 in 8th with Stefan Svitko in 9th with Johan Bereda-Bort, who is now a doubtful starter for tomorrow. So we'll have to watch that story really closely, which will change up the top 10 again, because sitting right on the cusp is Andrew Short, American Andrew Short. The Americans are still there on the Yamaha. And guess who's in 12th overall? Mason Klein from the Baz Dakar KTM racing team. Nacho has showed his hand. He's moved up into 14th. Nacho Corneo on the Honda, with Xavier de Sautre still hanging on to 15th, with Ricky having come right back up the order in 16th, with Aaron Murray, our South African, in 17th, and Bradley Cox 25th overall. I'm so proud of him.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. But if you look at from the time point of view, I try and look more from a time as opposed to position, because anyway, it's just because of the voices. Rossi he's 18 minutes off the lead, but 5th is 15 and a half minutes away off the lead. So those small little times that they make up, all of a sudden just puts him into podium position. So it's all doable, and it's, as we were saying earlier, it's super early. We'll see moving day, Sunday, or day after race day, what kind of happens with that. I think it's going to be absolutely...
But I can't believe that anybody's ever won a stage on debut. I can't believe, I'm just thinking now, across all sectors, or I can't think of anybody who's possibly done that on debut.
I'll tell you who did, was in 1975 on a Yamaha. The oak who won the race was on a Yamaha. What is his name? It was the first oak who won, or the first day. But you're right. I was going through my mind and trying to rack it up. And Steph, can you recall somebody on debut, a rookie?
You know, I'm thinking in my head Daniel Sanders from last year, but I stand corrected. So don't crucify me, guys. But let's throw it out there. If you want to win something really nice, give us your answer. Andrew needs something to do.
I'm quite busy, thank you very much.
Well, if you're quite busy, then...
And before we move on from Ross, Ryan Matthews has come in and said, do you think Ross is holding back a little bit? And I think we touched on this a couple of days ago, where we were saying, is he maybe playing the long game? And we know he had a couple of big falls last year that pretty much ended his race. I think hopefully he's playing it more sensible this year. But yeah, Steffi, maybe you can comment on that.
You know, Andrew, as I said last night, Rossi's playing a very smart game. He's seeing the terrain, he's settling into his straps. Slow and steady is going to win this.
He'd win the race.
He will be.
He'd win the race.
Yeah, I think his strategy is very good. You know, watching the last couple of years and chatting to him, I mean, he's an incredible human being. But looking at his strategy this year, I think he's bang on. You know, I'm not sure about the top step, but he's definitely on his way to a top 5, and if not pushing that podium, the way he's playing his cards.
Great strategy.
Yeah, I think it's.
Don't forget, the bikes this year are only allowed 2 pistons for the whole race and 6 tires. 6 rear tires for the race. So you can't go burning them up in the first week. You've still got to keep something for...
This came into play towards the end last year when they had that marathon stage in the second week where they were stressing about time.
I think his trajectory is just up from here.
Go Rossi.
I agree,
By the way,
Terence.
before
Yeah,
we move
absolutely.
on from bikes, there's a special shout out. My favorite viewer from the bivouac, Stuart Gregory.
Stuart Gregory.
Hey, Stuart, thanks for joining us.
He says, sorry, I missed a few episodes. Did I miss anything important? You know.
Not too much, but we missed we've got episodes of yours, Stuart, that we're going to show your wonderful your food experience.
Yeah.
As total, Stuart, from Terence is too shy to ask you, but if you could do the ablution section for us tomorrow, in particular the toilets.
I know that area well enough. I don't need to see that area.
And he came in with an answer to Steffi's question. He said Toby got 3rd in his first year, 3rd on the stage. So he didn't get a stage win on debut, but 3rd.
It's lovely having people who know stuff right at the race. I think we should make... Stuart, would you like to become an honorary race day correspondent? We've got a cap for you. We can hook up from our friends at, hopefully at Sparko, but they don't do bike shirts.
A couple of his Dragon energies, and he'll have more than enough energy.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he says he's battling with a lack of sleep. He put his tent next to the jet strip, so he's been struggling a little bit. Shame, man.
It's just Stuart's
I just want
absolutely
to throw a massive
fantastic.
shout out to Stuart, John, Sharon, and Werner. Our Malamotor boys are doing a spectacular job out there. Unbelievable. Really,
Right.
really super embraced.
I'm told that the technology needs to, before it expires, we're going to have a quick little go back to the car interlude and just listen to Henk Latergan and Brett Cummings and look at the smiles on their faces. Well, let's just get straight into it. The crew of Car 225 first-time Dakar winners. You've driven 9 stages, completed 9 stages of Dakar, and you got your first win. Henk Ladergan, Brett Cummins, congratulations. I think it must be blooming magic.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's amazing. We've been smiling the whole day.
An unexpected smile.
You know, you've had probably the biggest emotional roller coaster type Dakar with disaster of stage 1 and then leading again and having a mechanical and today before rest day you bring it in.
Yeah, no, it's actually been mad. No, this is only day 5 and sorry. Sorry, my dad just popped in.
It would have been cool to have him join you there, man. Sorry,
we can call him back if you want.
Day 5, you were saying?
No, so yeah, it's only day 5, and I mean, so far we've had 2 days where we've broken off a rear wheel, and really come in hours after everybody. The second time we came back late at night. We had to finish in the dark in the dunes, and the other 3 days we were leading the stage for 2 of them, and then the last one we won the stage. So it's actually been a mad Dakar so far.
So you're either leading or you've got a broken car.
Yeah, that doesn't sound too good. But
as I said it, I thought. Look, Henk, I think, and Brett, both of you, we know that in South Africa that you've got the speed, and we had hints of it last year. And the fact that you come out now with the big wheel car and just smash it is really got to be reassuring to you guys as well.
Yeah, no, it's I think from last year we knew we were sort of, or at least last year we knew close to the pace, but we didn't really know what the pace should be at Dakar. It's quite difficult to judge here because it's very different racing to South Africa. I mean, there we have a lot more information. You have the track in front of you. It's not blind, completely blind like it is here.
You've got stickers. You've got GPS that shows you the route as well.
So there, most of the time you know where you're going and you know when you're off the road. Here, sometimes you don't even know. Even when you're on the road, you're not sure if you're on the road. So it's very, very different, and we're still trying to figure that out, how to know when you're on the pace and when you're not, because so far we've been pushing or been going well, or we think we're going well, and then the other guys are going even quicker. And then other times we think we're really struggling, like today, and we ended up winning the stage. So I don't fully understand how it works here yet, but hopefully I'm trying my best, or we're trying our best to get to the finish, and hopefully by then we'll have a better idea of how this thing really works.
Gaining experience every day. Brett, the navigation, we've heard after stage 1, lots of stuff. How difficult is it this year? Is there a big change up from last year, and is it super tricky?
I think the organisation is always trying to create challenges, for both the driver and the co-driver, and you're always going to have challenges. What we found when we were further back in the field, it becomes even more difficult to navigate because there's so many different tracks going in so many different directions, and you don't know, who's made the mistake and who hasn't made the mistake. So it was a lot nicer to be closer to the front, like we were yesterday. It was actually going really well. We got to a point where we caught up behind Carlos, and Henk said to me, "Are you ready to open the stage?" And I said, "Well, let's go for it." And it actually went well. We weren't making any mistakes. We had quite a bit of dust from bikes and that when we were catching them. And I think at that point Carlos came back past us because he was buzzing the bikes and we thought he was buzzing us. But then we had the mishap with the wheel.
What actually happened yesterday with the wheel? Did it just fall off?
No, the hub failed.
It's something that hasn't failed on the car before, and it's not something that's supposed to break off. And I mean, we took a lot bigger hits yesterday during the day compared to where the wheel actually came off. So I think it's a bit of fatigue, or it's a part that we definitely have to look at again. There is a lot of different loads on the car now with the bigger wheels and the bigger suspension. We can hit things a lot harder, and I think the terrain here is a little bit different to what we usually test in, and I mean the races.
Designer and mechanics things, you can hit things a lot bigger and a lot harder. The limitation in the old car might have been the humans and the level of abuse that they could take in the car. From what we believe, it's a lot softer inside the car. And is it that the car's becoming more of a limitation, or is it still the bodies that get shook around from the massive hits?
No, it's not a lot softer in the new car, I can promise you.
Okay. I've had some serious physio in the last 2 days. The worst is, I think, for me, is when you're looking at the road book, or you put your head down and you come over a crest and there's sort of a ditch in the dunes that you just can't predict and you can't see or anything like that. It's not that you're in danger or anything like that. We haven't been taking any risks in that sense. But you're just going to take a massive knock, and geez, my neck's been put out of place more than once.
We can't show you the whole interview because it goes on for about another 10 minutes, but it will be loaded up onto the Raceday Facebook and YouTube site. There's some absolutely fascinating insights. Those two youngsters, as Terence said, we firmly believe that they are going to win Dakar overall, and in not too many years to come.
Yeah, and in the not too distant future, that's for sure.
Yeah. Steffi, let's come back to you on the bike side and try and get some sense of this race and from a bike point of view. What else do we need to know?
Colin, at this stage, you know what, tomorrow is one more stage, 421 kilometers. It's going to be rough. There's rocky sections, there's intersections in the roadmap. They've swapped the loop. And I think it's too early to tell. I think we'll still have a gunfight tomorrow. Going into the rest day, they want to set themselves up so that they can attack next week. But I really think we need to talk about the cars. I really want to hear Terence's take on today.
I also want to talk about the cars, but bikes are apparently very important. The other, just from a bike point of view and swapping, you've had cars, trucks and quads and side-by-sides going over, and they've churned up the sand. It's going to be a different kind of riding for the bikes going through churned up sand. We are told that in the car section there's about 100 kilometers that they've made different or divergent from the bike track, and I assume that they're doing that on the track that the bikes are going to ride, but we'll only know that early tomorrow morning. So let's get straight to the cars.
Don't go anywhere, stay tuned.
We're going to go through the results of the cars for now. We've spoken about first and second.
Carl, just on that, what will be quite interesting in the stage is that obviously the bikes have a very direct route. The cars can't go on a bike route, or maybe 80% of it, but not 100% of it. But when they change over tomorrow, it'll be quite interesting because the bikes won't follow 100% of the car route, if you understand. They can take a lot more direct routes.
And from a car point of view, you see tracks. Which one's the right one to go?
It'll be very interesting to see how that gets...
and tomorrow we'll have our tracking back so that we can try and follow them properly and get an idea of where it is. And we're talking bikes so much that it's just gone zik, the thingy here. So Lauthan wins from Loeb. Luciano Alvarez, now there's a whole lot of mix-up in cars here, comes in third. Seradori in the Century, fourth, and Jakub Brzgonski in the buggy of the Mini Coopers. And that just keep going, the Mini Coopers are coming. Janil de Villiers came in sixth position on the stage, just ahead of Nasser Al-Attiyah. And we're going to see, I think, Nasser not attacking as hard as he had been in the beginning. He's got a big lead to work with over Sebi. Sebi took 3 minutes out of him. But he won't want to, every day that Sebi takes time out of Nasser, it'll be building Loeb's confidence a lot more. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Then Guerlain Chicheret was in eighth. And then Christian Visser, I love the way in the results they put it. We had Christian Visser and then Vasiliev. Now, if we go to the makes of the cars in there, we've got 2 Pro Drives in the top 10, we've got 2 Centuries, we've got 2 Minis. The BMW X5, I'm going to call a Mini as well.
Yeah, it's a Mini with a
It's a Mini with a big body. And it's amazing how big, you look at a Mini now, a Mini used to be
big.
No, but there's a Mini. It's a tiny car. Now it's as big as a frickin' X5. It's not a Mini, people. It's a... Anyway, let's not go too much there. Pretty chuffed with Shami Varioa in 24th position. And we've spoken about Baragwanath having a desperate day. Cyril Dupre Perry in 38th. Daniel Schroeder in the PS Laser Nissan Navara VK50 run by WCT in 41st. From a time point of view, he's 58 seconds, so he's within an hour of the lead, which is quite cool. Beating 2 Audis, Carlos Sainz and Stefan Peter Hansel. So for some other reason, Audi have decided that King Carlos, who you'll call his 40th stage, he's their guy, and Peter Hansel is the parts donator. So when Carlos's car broke today, as it will many times more in this race, you don't come to Dakar first time and not break it. And Carlos is not the lightest guy on cars, is he?
Can you imagine having Peter Hansel as your water boy? That's incredible.
Peter Hansel's his parts guy. So Peter Hansel arrives, Monsieur Dakar, this is the man. And they swapped.
The big thing for me is from an observation which makes us proud as the South Africans is if you look at the top of the leaderboard and you've got Sebastian Loeb number 2 below Henk Latergan, 9 times WRC world champion.
Yeah.
And above him is, as you said, a 27-year-old young South African in his second Dakar. It's incredible. And then in further to that is obviously Chris Visser is really, I mean he's really impressive.
We know Chris can drive.
He's a very talented individual. There's absolutely no doubt about it. But to jump in the short space that he has from 4 wheels into the two-wheel drive
with a new navigator.
With a new navigator.
So we got to call them. I want to call them co-drivers because they're more than just
Yeah, well, you do get a navigator, and then you do get a co-driver, and they are 2 different people. They sit in the same seat. There's one that just navigates, and there's another one that manages the car, the driver. He's a very controlled, disciplined individual.
And normally a calm guy.
Has to be calm. He has to have a zero ego. Zero ego. Because he's got to manage the ego in the seat, in the driver's seat. That's what he's got to do. You can't. Once you have 2 egos in the car, it's chemistry that doesn't work.
I mean, Matthew Balmer, also totally calm, totally happy to take the.
Very special people and hard to find.
Very, very hard to find. When you've got some things, young man. I do indeed. I've just got to, Ernest Roberts. There's another one. He's had a mare of a race. There was a roll, and then he took the corner off the front left corner off a car. Now these things they're made of Domex, which is the lower control arms, which is massive. It's basically the stuff they make bulletproof vehicles from. But they don't make rock-proof lower control arms. So he's came in well today within an hour of the lead. He beat Carlos Sainz. He beat Stefan Peter Hansel. And Stefan Peter Hansel came in 62nd position. And in 63rd position is Skulk Burger. So Skulk just only got beaten just.
If you're clever enough and you screenshot that correctly, it makes for a good market.
Yeah, it's a brilliant result. Andrew.
Lots of love for Chris Visser, especially the fact that he's jumped into the CR6. And the comments come through that, is he possibly going to sell his Hilux when he gets back and buy a CR6 for the local series?
It would be very interesting. I've seen the state of his last year didn't end well with Chris in his Toyota Bucky. And it's under a complete rebuild at the moment. It's a shell that's having all the bent bits fixed on it. Hey, who knows? But I mean, we've got a short little picture of Chris in this thing, and it's absolutely magnificent. Just listen to this. Of Chevrolet's finest LS7. You've got to love that stuff.
He's got his strategy is just, it's bang on the money. It really is. You can see what he's doing. If you plot their results every day, you can see the guys that are just slowly moving up. What they're doing is building an innings, and you see the guys that are against the ropes are the guys that have gone too aggressively, too hard, too soon. Dakar doesn't take kind to that behavior. You don't come there as a lightweight and get clever with the Dakar. You get spat out quickly.
Yeah.
He's quite, if you remember, that's what happened the first time. He was very unfortunate and had an accident.
Who's in the Pro Drive Hunter in 8th position. He's half an hour off him.
But there's still a lot to play. I mean, there's 5 stages down. I mean, there's still 7 stages to go. Anything can happen. And
Christian Visser is just boom, boom. Super.
Cars have proved to be strong. They've proved to be fast. Talented driver, good strategy.
Matthew Serradori is in 10th position in the Century, and then Cyril and Tay in 17th. Shamir Variawa, 19th position overall, 3 hours off the sharp end. I mean, there's just the high speed on these things is just absolutely phenomenal. And I mean that there's a lot of mass in them, and they kick because there's so much energy in it.
I think a big observation for me as well, watching, being here this side and watching and the timings, is the conditions have changed so dramatically because of all the rain. If you think we're in a desert country where we have an abundance of sand, what's very, very soft is not very soft now. So traction is far greater than it's ever been in any Dakar for quite some time. And with the better traction comes obviously higher in pressure from a tyre perspective, and obviously you can see from the average speeds. So I think a lot of that needs to be taken into account, that these guys are getting stuck less and are driving faster.
I was looking at the retirements and the withdrawals, and I think we've had 2 cars that have withdrawn. The reliability is so much.
Yeah, I think the standard of the cars every year get better and better. There's no doubt. I think with the marathon stage being cancelled because of the bivouac being rained out helped. I think it would have taken a few guys wouldn't have made stage 3 because of that. So that's a benefit. It's the same for everybody, and some were lucky enough to get away with that. But again, as I said, the conditions are so much better than normal. So people are not getting stuck. Because you're not getting stuck, you're not having to carry as much speed in the dunes. Therefore, your margin of error is becoming slightly bigger than normal. So all these things come into play, which have an influence on the overall results across the board, whether it be timing and withdrawals.
SRO must be pulling their hair out because we are led to believe that they use a first couple of days to cull the field, so they have a smaller...
Led to believe that is. There's a culling stage, there's no doubt about it. But their culling strategy has not worked.
It hasn't worked this year, so their costs have gone up, the caravan has still got to go.
They're feeding more people than they'd like to now, and their margins are getting smaller.
Yeah, so. But you're spending 4 days in Riyadh now, so it's...
But having said that, if I see the amount of penalties and the amount of money they're making on that, I think they're making it up in fines.
Yeah, but those penalties all go to FIA.
Jeez, the amount of fines going out every single day, penalties, is incredible.
Now, those fines are not just for doing crazy technical things. There are a lot of safety-related issues with gloves that aren't worn properly, balaclavas, an out-of-date helmet, seatbelts not tightened.
The biggest one that I've seen, the fire extinguisher not switched on.
Yeah.
Okay, so the onboard fire extinguisher,
which is doof, isn't it?
1,000 euros. So that's 18,000 rand. 18,000 rand fine because you were found at the checkpoint not to have switched on your onboard fire extinguisher. The smaller ones, as you said, for balaclavas, they need 250 euro. Yeah. But the amount of fines or penalties that are going out every day. I mean, your phone doesn't stop with the bulletins.
There's an official app, the Sport Teddy, that brings you all the information. I think from a result point of view, I think we've kind of got to speak about the results. I mean, we can carry on and on and on forever. I don't want to carry on and on forever. I want to get to Redline Motorsport and what you do. And you alluded, or you said earlier, that you design and build cars for customers in the middle sort of tier, gentleman races.
Yeah, that's the focus of our business. I mean, we build 3 different cars, and I think that's, now and again we get thrown in with the factory guys as competitors, where it's not at all part of our strategy. We have 42 customers in 16 different countries around the world. The majority of those customers, we've taught them from a driving perspective. So firstly, we've built them a car, and then we've obviously taken them through a driving training school. We do the same with the navigation. The majority of the times we'll provide a navigator for their first year, because you can't put 2 novices, not in our world, it doesn't work. You can't spend this kind of money. So firstly, which of the cars, the VK50 and the VK56 are very much the same or similar from a design perspective, very much designed or targeted at the businessman driver and the semi-professional.
That's a solid axle car.
That's a solid axle car. The 56 is a 5.6 litre with a mid-engine, okay? More like a a rally car on steroids type of car, you know. VK50 a little bit easier front engine car, the original regulations. So again, according to when you're sitting with one of your customer around the world, where's his budgets, where's his objectives, what's his journey, and then we've got to build his plan. Remember, a lot of the guys that I don't think there's anybody who's brought as many people into the sport as we've done. That's really where we are. A lot will then move on from where we are. You know? But to bring them in from absolutely zero background, you know, some are conversions from track, some are conversions from rallying bikes. The best normally is from a track guy. He's quite disciplined.
You've just got a new track convert.
Yeah. We just been. It's a Johan de Bruin. I mean, that's a character all on his own. You know, he's got aspirations of what he wants to do on his journey. But you take in he's a talented individual, but with a track background. But he comes with good disciplines. You know, as much as I've seen some of his off-road antics off the track in the kitty litter, but the principle is now on that journey. You know, what journey the toughest one for us is the rallying conversions, because they're always 11/10ths, so they're always the first to the scene of the accident, and we've got to try and teach them to come back. Biking guys are a pleasure. Really know how to look after mechanically.
And they also know that when you crash, it hurts.
It hurts, you know. So they understand suspension. They read the road really well. So the easiest conversion is a biker. Second to that would be the track guy, because the disciplines he comes, you've got to roughing him up a bit, and you've got to teach him what 5 hours is versus 15 minutes. You know,
Terence, can you assume somebody's watching this, and many times people have said to me, hey, listen, I want to get involved in this racing stuff. And somebody's watching this. What are the chances what do they need to go and do a regional cross-country race to see if they either like it, or what would they do? What would the process be to see if they A, like it, and B, whether they've got a chance?
I don't know. You know, the most important thing is the answer to that always is money. You know, it's the same as what people say at Dakar. You know, anybody can enter Dakar. You just need the money. It's really expensive exercise, and you know, people ask, why don't you go? It's financial. It's as simple as that. The Dakar will take your money. You don't need any. You don't need any qualifications.
And it will take as much as you've got.
Yeah. That's the simplicity. Whether or not so you can afford to get to the Dakar. But whether you can afford to be any good at the Dakar is the biggest thing, you know. So people should be spending more money on preparation, and that's where your focus should be. And that's what we try and focus on, you know, is that journey. Not everybody has. Dakar remains a dream, and maybe when the guy's ship comes in.
I mean, somebody's watching and they want to start cross-country racing, not necessarily Dakar, but they want to have a go. Is it sort of kind of possible to do a regional race here? Or?
Yeah, we run a program where you know, the first thing we would do is have a test session with an individual, you know, to get an understanding where their kind of base is and what they're capable of. And then once we've got, we then do some training sessions, you know what I mean? That's part of our business. And then probably would go into a regional, you know, very much like Johan de Bruin did now. We did a double regional and finished, you know, 600 kilometers on debut. That's very much the journey. And then obviously from the regionals to the nationals, you know. You can't, South African nationals is so good. It's second to none in the world, with a massive gap between 1 and 2.
There's no other country in the world that in their regional or their national championship runs 20 FIA cars.
No one in the world. No one in the world. It's fortunate enough I've traveled enough that I can say it, you know, positively, that unfortunately people don't in South Africa understand. The results will show you how good our drivers are. Yeah. The reality of why our drivers are so good is because our championship is so good. We have got the best championship in the world.
It's unbelievable. It's just well run, well organized.
Another level, it really is. So you can't, my point with that is you can't take an amateur here and take him to, because South Africa is so good. There needs to be a journey, you know, otherwise he'll get spat out so quickly, because that's South African.
Talking about spitting out, I'm hearing dummies.
I've got a misfire, sorry.
I'm hearing dummies that have been
Octane of the fuel's no good.
What's happening there?
91 octane.
Not a lot.
You're not the only one with poor fuel.
Yeah, no, the poor fuel is, the octane rating is far too low. We're detonating a piston here. It's not gone well at all, Colin.
Questions?
Things that I think we're going to bank for tomorrow and we're going to address then. a comment on what you were saying about the regionals, and when Fernando Alonso was preparing for Dakar, he came and did the Lichtenberg regional, which was fantastic.
Yeah, we have. I mean, if we...
Well, Nasser came this year.
Nasser, if I had 5 cars available, we were big enough as a business, they could be rented out to internationals for our championship. That's the demand for South African racing is so high.
I'm surprised we haven't built 5 cars and got the Euros from these guys. Come on, Terence. You can
one day, hopefully one day when we're big enough, we can do that. But it's a very capitally intensive business.
Terence, I love talking about racing cars and the business of racing and stuff, but it's 20 o'clock already, and the time moves on, and I'm worried about Steffi getting to a radio program because she's still got to write scripts and things. Steffi, what's going to happen tomorrow? We've got 421 kilos, basically a loop around, a drive around the Riyadh countryside. 421 for the bikes and 347 odd for the cars. Going to be fun. Are you able to make a prediction, or is it based on hopes?
Listen, if I was a man, I might put that proverbial on a block, but I'm not going to do that tonight. It's just too up in the air, quite honestly. And before we go to that, I just want to say, Terence, all I want to do is I want to follow those Revos around that desert next year. Please, come on now. That's what we want to do. Cole, you know, it's a really... it's a really tough call, you know, especially with that 40 kilometers of dunes that they're going to be in their loop. They've got that tricky nav again. There's those intersections. I'm not going to make a prediction. I think whoever presses the advantage home tomorrow is going to be in the driving seat on Sunday, and the Hondas are coming back again. So the Yamahas are sitting pretty. Ross is, like Terence says, playing such a clever, smart race. I'm not going to call it, but I do know the Hondas are in the gunfight again because they tag teaming.
Well, I'm going to go with the blue bikes. I still have my blue shirt. I may change colors, and I think the Yamahas, my counters for the Yamahas. Don't go away yet, because it's competition time. And earlier on, I said to everybody, just pay very, very close attention while Terence is speaking. You came up with the question earlier, seeing as it's a red-lined hamper and there's stuff in it. It weighs 1.9 kilograms. It comes in a bag. It is very, very impressive. So, Terence, the question that you came up with is what?
Name 2 partners that are associated both with Redlined and the Dakar.
Great. So
2 common partners, effectively.
The common partners between Redlined and Dakar. Any 2.
Any 2.
Any 2. So that's quite easy. You can stick it on put your answer in, and the first one who gets it right, Horn Dog will get it, but there's one caveat. We are in this wonderful emporium of classic cars called Vatswaye. It's in Menlyn in Pretoria. There's a Mini over there. There's a Chevrolet Bucky over there. There's a Chevrolet racing car over here. There's another Mini Cooper S racing car there. There's a Redline Bucky, and there's 164 classic cars in the back here. There's a beautiful 1300 Alpha GT Junior. It's Italiano cream with black leather. They're busy assembling it at the moment. It is unbelievable. We're going to be here on Saturday. The reason I go into Vatswaye in Menlyn. And in order to win this prize, it's too complex for any courier in the world. You will have to come to our studio sometime on Saturday to collect this prize. No courier will touch it. It's a collect only. So the answer is, well, the question is 2 partners that are common with Redline Motorsport and the 2022 edition of Dakar. Get writing, peoples. Get writing. Well, is he, just reply to the winner. Is he able to collect on Saturday here? If not, sorry.
Next.
Then we'll have to have another one. Right.
And he's already
Steffi, last thoughts. We got to get out of here because the thunder is coming. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy your radio. It's lovely to see that smile, relaxed, under control Steffi Vetter from somewhere on the southern tip of this country, representing strongly the South African Dakar group. Steffi, thanks for joining us. Be well. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you, Terence. Lovely chatting. Thanks, Hoondog. And to all my boys in Saudi, they've been sending me messages. Good night. Go to sleep already.
Yeah, it's your beauty sleep time. Cheers, Steph. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks for listening in.
And the horn dog, who's a lot shorter than he appears.
Careful
he
now.
looks like a giant at the moment, but he's an anti-giant. Andrew, thank you very much for joining us. And we'll see you tomorrow. It's been a pleasure. Terence Marsh, what a pleasure. Thank you for driving all the way from Joburg. And we really appreciate your insights. Anytime you'd like to come back and just talk cars, we should maybe have a full day show to talk about this.
Between the two of us, we'd talk forever, though. We are aware of that.
The problem is what?
Time.
Terence, thank you very much. And to you who watched, thank you so much. Don't forget, if you'd like, you can go and watch Henk and Brett. To the technical crew today, for your geniusness and the brilliance and the friendly smiles and the happiness, thank you very much. So we'll see you tomorrow. Remember, be nice, be kind. We'll see you tomorrow. Cheers.